Hello YouTube world, welcome back to my workshop. Project I'm going to do for you this week is a fruit bowl, but the difference with this one is my daughter asked me to do a large fruit bowl for her. Now I spoke before about my lathe DVR, and I have 6 inches between the centre of the chuck to the lathe of the blade, which obviously that only allows you to do a maximum of 16-inch bowl. The bowl I got today is the lump of wood I got is around 18 inches. It's pretty much the biggest piece of wood I had in my workshop. So here's the wood. As you can see, it's quite a chunky bit of wood. And the only thing I'm concerned about is just here, there's a bit of an inclusion in there. I'm not quite sure what that is, but it does go quite deep. So what I'm worried about is at some point I'm going to be turning that side of the wood away, and I'm going to open that right up. So I might have to at some point fill that. Otherwise, by the time I turn that away, we're not going to have a very big bowl at all. So the first thing I need to do is make that in my chuck. To do that, I'm going to use a faceplate, which is this. And what happens, that screws in, you can see the 6 screw holes in there, that screws straight onto the piece of wood, and then the jaws of the chuck will go in expansion mode just to grip it tight, and allows me to turn it. So as you can see, I've already found the centre of the wood, and what I do is I turned up just a little disc like that. So I can drop my screw in there. Just get that so it bites, and then that'll drop straight over there, and then I know I have my centre. And then just whack 6 screws in there. And then what I'll do, I'll get and show you how the outrigger works. So this is basically the outrigger. It's a piece of steel bolted on the end of the lathe there, and then that's pivoted there, and it adjusts on there, so you've got various things. These outriggers, they do come on with these Novas. They're optional extras, I think they're about £150. But if you do want to turn big bowls, I mean they are a must. So it works quite simple. So what you do is you release that catch there, and in underneath there I think there's a pin that drops down, and there's 8 preset angles that you can turn it to. But what you do is turn it all the way around 90 degrees to the bed of the lathe, lock it in, and then get the piece of wood, bolt on there. So what we do is we get a piece of wood, set it on the chuck, and then just tighten the chuck into expansion mode, and that's held nice and firm. Lock everything into place, and then we're ready to turn. Because it's quite out of shape, that's quite a lot thicker on that side, so I know when I start this up it's going to start shaking about a bit. So what I want to do is start it in the very lowest speed I can, and then we'll just turn it up until it starts to wobble a little bit, and then we'll turn it back and start and turn some wood. So there we go, I've sharpened up both chisels before I start work, and let's start this up and just hope it don't shake about too much. First thing I must do is put my safety visor on. As you can see from this, I'm gradually getting there. This has all been turned away nicely there. I've still got that to come down into there. And all those pieces in there, they've all got to come down there. I'm not even touching that there. As you see from there, that's the outside of the bark. That was the outside of the tree, obviously. And that will be the outside of my bowl, so I'll turn that away. As I'm gradually working down through, I'll take that off as well. I'm not too sure when my wife brought this down. It's cold and it's full of sawdust. Still, a little bit of dirt never killed anybody. Cheers. So that's got them all cleaned up. I'm cutting right the way across. So what I want to do now is establish a rim on there for the bowl to sit down, and then I need to cut a recess in there for my jaws to expand in, so that when I turn it around and start hollowing the bowl on the other side, I've got something for the jaws to hold the wood to. So what I'm going to do now is move the outrigger around. So I'll start shaping the outside of the bowl, and I just need to clean up the bottom there as well. That wall's not long enough. What I need to do is get a longer straight edge just to make sure that I'm actually below the level of that rim. If you can see this and that black line on there, that's where that inclusion is coming through from the other side. So it does look an awful lot like I'm going to end up with a big gap in there. I'm going to have to try and fill it at some point, which is a shame. That's the joys of working with wood. Just taking a cut in there. That's just giving me my actual line. I did want to put a rim on there. If I do, I'm going to lose even more of that. You can see in there. I might just put a bit of super glue on there just to stabilise that, and then I'll just have that little piece on there I'll have to try and fill. So I'm going to turn it back round there. That's the outside. If I can sand that off, a lovely piece of grain in there. You can see that grain coming out there now. As soon as I put that sand sealer on there, it really brings the grain out of that wood. It really is lovely. Well, I say self-praise is no praise at all, but I think this is going to turn into a very attractive looking bowl. So that's been sanded down. It's been given 2 coats of sand sealer, which has really brought that pattern of that grain out. It does look quite nice. Well, here we go, YouTube world. I've reverse chuck mounted the bowl, and as you can see, that's the inclusion in there. I don't know what it is. I don't know whether that was a branch had gone through there, or, but it is quite deep, and that goes right through to. I mean, that's how deep it is. That's a long way down. There's very little wood on the outside of there. I think what I'm going to do is turn it away. So I've got the thickness of the wall of the outer bowl, but I'm only going to turn it away to there, and then I'll have a look and see how much of that I need to fill. Because what I could do is knock up some epoxy resin with some sawdust and just fill that up. And if I just turn it to there, so effectively I'm turning like from there to there out, so that if I can't do anything with this, I still have quite a sizable bowl, and that'll still measure up as a, what's that? And that'd still be a 12-inch bowl. I mean, that is quite a large. That would be. That's a 12-inch rule, 300mm. So. You know, that would still be quite a large bowl, but it'd be nice to have that extra. What's that? 60. So it'd be another 120mm overall. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll turn it away from there to there. So effectively I'll have the outside wall of the bowl, and then it'll give me some idea of how much of that I have to fill. So that's what we're going to do. Alright. Let's get into some wood. No clever in mine. I forgot to press the record button. So I've cut a bit of a groove in there, and there you can see just how deep that inclusion is. I've taken quite a big chunk out of there, and there's still quite a bit left to go. So there we go, YouTube world. What I've done, as you can see, I've cut the big groove around the outside of the bowl, which has exposed that big inclusion. And what I've done is I've gone in and I've filled that all with glue. Used 2-part epoxy resin, mixed that with some sawdust. There's still quite a big hole in the bottom of the bowl. So that's what I'm going to do next. Put it back on the chuck, turn it to centre, clean it up, fill that inclusion, and sand it and finish it. It's that easy. I thought this might be rather clever to record this in slow motion, just to see the chips flying off towards the camera. But unfortunately, it seems to turn the microphone off at the same time. So this next element of this video is in silence, but it's only a short piece, so continue watching. want to do is just check the bottom of the thickness of that bowl. We'll feel we're almost there. Calipers on there. That's about 15 mil left in the bottom of there. I don't want to go too much more than that, because I've also just inside there I've got my recess that I'll hold the jaws in. So I think what I'll do is just do a clean up cut, a couple of clean up cuts across the bottom there, and I think that'll pretty much do. So you can see in here that last piece of that inclusion I had in there, I filled all down through there. That was the resin mixed up with sawdust and shavings. I will, once I sand that down, I've only coarse sanded that 100 grit, and as you can see there's still quite a bit in there. So what I'll do is I'll clean that sawdust out of there, I'll mix up some more resin and I'll fill that. But apart from that, the bowl's ready. Getting sanded down. Quite a nice grain in there. Although when it's full up with fruit you're not going to see it. So I'll just finish sanding that down. I'll sand up through the grits and put some sand and sealer on there, and I am going to spray the inside with that plastic coat, because it does, if you get a piece of fruit that rots in there or something like that, that plastic coat will actually allow you to just wipe the surface clean, whereas the wax and the sand and sealer will actually soak into the wood. So as I said before in previous videos, I always use that for my fruit bowls. Gives a nice shiny finish, a nice clean hygienic finish as well, so it can all be wiped clean. Okay, so I'll finish sanding that through the grits. You don't really want to watch that because it's boring as hell to do, but it's even more boring to watch. I'll come back when I've glued that up and we're ready to get rid of that. Well, here we go, YouTubers. I've filled that up with the epoxy resin. We're just ready now to sand it all down. Sand, sealer and sanding. So I'll make that back on the lathe and we'll take it from there. So that's the sand and sealer applied, and all it needs now just to finish off is a plastic coat. Let me take that out in the sunshine and you see that. Take it in the sunshine, you can see it in all its full glory. So there it is. Let me see that. All out the side so it's in the sunshine. It does look pretty beautiful. There's some beautiful grain pattern running through there. There really is. Well, there we go, YouTube world. Another finished product. I'd say I quite enjoyed making that. Apart from that inclusion, would have been quite straightforward if it hadn't been for that. But there we go. I suppose these challenges are set to show it could be hard to overcome them, I suppose. There we go. So we've ended up with a bowl, which is you can see that just short of 17 inches which is around 450 ml. So that is probably the largest bowl I've turned to date. That is quite a size. You're going to get a lot of fruit in there. So I hope my daughter likes it. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed watching it, because I enjoyed making it. And that's the end of another project. So, as I say, thank you very much for watching that. I've been Steve Howe, and as you know, I've had another great day in the workshop. Thank you very much.